Hi, thanks for being in a new video. I got my hands on the Galaxy S23 FE and I'm going to tell you what I liked most and least about it after testing it, in case you're considering buying it. So, as always, let me tell you, don't buy the Galaxy S23 FE without watching this video. Let's consider its launch price, which in Mexico has been 12,999 pesos. On the screen, you see the reference price in dollars just to get an idea, but remember that the prices here are not the same as those there. Still, I consider the price because with these same prices from other manufacturers, I make a comparison to know more or less what is offered within this same range. Remember that I have the full review available in case you want to know it in much more depth, since in this case, I will only mention a quick summary of what I like the most and the least. If there is something that I don't mention during this video, it means that it is within what you would expect from a device of this price point. Let's start with what I like the most. It is IP68 certified against water and dust, so if you happen to drop it in water, it has a very high chance of surviving. Still, it's worth reminding you of what I always remind you of when I mention this resistance, which is that manufacturers don't make your warranty valid if it gets damaged by water. It is more a certification that gives you some security against any accident, but it is not so recommended that you are constantly submerging it. Even so, if you want to put it in the pool or some underwater photography, you can do it, but it is recommended that you do it for short periods of time and then rinse it with pure water, because the pool water or seawater can generate some wear on all the elements that protect the device. Remember that this certification is obtained with pure water, so you have to take that kind of precautions. But definitely the fact that it has this certification assures us and gives us much more confidence in case of an accident. The dynamic AMOLED 2X screen is spectacular. Remember that this generation of screen Samsung uses in its high-end series because Samsung has much simpler AMOLED screens that it can get to use in lower models, but the dynamic AMOLED 2X technology Samsung reserves for the high-end, and it's great to see it from this model. So the viewing experience is going to be very good, it's going to have good colors, absolutely everything about the screen is good. And as far as audio goes, it lets you have a 9-band equalizer even if you don't have headphones plugged in. That is another section that I really like to highlight because while the screen experience can be very good, sometimes the sound does not complement well. But in this device, it will give us, in addition to stereo sound, which is what we would expect in other devices of this price, access to an equalizer, and with this, you can customize the sound to sound exactly how you like it. Most manufacturers restrict the use of the equalizer to only work when you have headphones connected, but Samsung makes it available for the entire system. You can also send the sound of some applications to the Bluetooth speaker, and other applications keep them playing on the cell phone. This can be very useful at some parties, and the feature is called standalone app sound. It can be very useful at a party because you could send the music from your cell phone to the speaker, but if you receive an audio from WhatsApp or want to watch a video on your cell phone, you can perfectly well have that app keep playing on your cell phone so as not to interrupt the music you are sending to the speaker. It is a very useful feature. The camera is very good. Samsung always tends to excel in this photographic aspect, but in this case, let me mention some very specific details. Capturing photos is very fast. Portraits with the front camera keep other objects in the foreground in focus and not just faces. And this is something very important to keep in mind because most devices tend to blur absolutely everything around you, keeping only your body in focus. But that's not a natural result. In this case, it does manage to keep other objects in focus so that the photograph looks much more professional. Plus, it has a telephoto lens with optical zoom. That's a feature that in the price range is honestly going to be very hard for you to find on other devices. So I love that Samsung has decided to incorporate it here, confirming to us that they have a very special focus on giving us a virtually high-end device experience, but in a much lower price range. And obviously, you're also going to be able to take pictures in RAW, so you can have much more advanced post-processing. If you're one of the more specific photographers and you suddenly forgot your camera, maybe you can get yourself out of trouble, take the pictures in RAW and do a good job. In fact, the camera can record video in. This again is more geared towards the more professional who may want to extract stills from that video or plan to reframe the video later to fine-tune it. It's a feature that for this price range, no other device is going to offer you. You could also record in 4:4 at 60 frames per second. And again, it's a feature that very few devices can boast in this price range. And while you're recording video, you can rotate to the front camera in the same clip. And this I see as very useful more for content creators who are maybe narrating a blog of what's going on there, and instead of having to cut the video and start it again to now put the front camera on, in this case you simply press the button to rotate to the camera. There is a brief moment of pause, but really the experience is very good because you don't need to cut your recording. And it also offers good stabilization on the videos. So as you can see, in terms of photography and video, it's a device that delivers a lot. And if you complement it with a good screen and good sound that we've been mentioning, I think the experience is very good in these aspects. In addition, it offers 4 years of software updates and 5 years of security patches. This gives you the assurance that you are going to have a device that is going to have good support and a good lifespan. Consider that over time, applications are increasing their requirements, and there comes a time when applications say, we are going to require at least Android 16 to work or something similar. And this device, as you go updating for many years, that's why I'm telling you it has a longer lifespan. And in terms of software, Samsung is the king. Let me mention very quickly several features that are unique to the Galaxy that you're not going to find on other phones from other brands or the iPhone. It has edge panels with different shortcuts, quick shortcuts and widgets. You can open any app in a floating window mode, and you can open many at the same time. You have Samsung DeX to connect to an external monitor and work as a windowed format. In the gallery, it integrates the Magic Object Eraser. You also have Samsung Pass to automatically fill in passwords with your fingerprint or store private notes or your card numbers. So really, Samsung software always tends to be very attractive. But let's move on to other topics beyond the software. It also has eSIM support. Again, it's a feature that's usually only on high-end devices, although more and more mid-range devices are starting to integrate this feature as well. But if you don't know what it's for or what its usefulness is, if you tend to travel a lot to other countries, it can become very useful because you can add a mobile data plan simply by scanning a QR code instead of having to go to some physical store and buy a SIM card and put it in. So it gives you a lot more convenience when you're going to travel. Also, Samsung has a super complete ecosystem. Remember, by this we mean that Samsung has a very good catalog of Galaxy Buds, which are their earbuds. It also has a good catalog of Galaxy Watch, which are its watches. Good portfolio of Galaxy Tabs, which are their tablets. So all of that coexists well with each other. You can from the watch control the cell phone camera, or you can have the alarms or timers synced. You can answer your calls from your tablet. So the ecosystem is very advanced, and that's also why it's a device that can give you a good experience. But now let me go with what I didn't like so much. The bezels are exaggeratedly large. This causes that when you see the device from the front, it feels a bit older than it actually is, as the current trend is to reduce those bezels to as minimal as possible. And in this same price range, there are other devices with a much more modern look, with a screen that spans virtually the entire front. So, in that sense, it does look a bit older. The zoom lens is virtually unused at night. It does this intelligently and automatically, as it doesn't seem to be of good enough quality to give you a good picture when the lighting isn't very good. So if you were thinking of using this more focused zoom lens for low light shots, let me tell you that it's not going to take advantage of it. Obviously, it's going to let you zoom in, but it's going to be 100% digital zoom based on the main camera. The in-display fingerprint reader only allows for 3 registrations. That's something that can also cause some discomfort, especially considering that most other manufacturers allow up to 5 fingerprint enrollments. So, if you are one of those users who like to have registered the people you trust to unlock your phone more easily, in this case you have a much more limited range of options. The charger must be purchased separately. And that's something that Samsung is getting us used to more and more, but it still bothers us, and I must tell you to consider investing even a little more money if you were planning to buy this phone. Because although it does support fast charging, obviously to have the best experience you must buy the 25-watt charger. It also has a virtual proximity sensor. This type of proximity sensors can suddenly generate some problems or some inconsistencies. And if you don't know what this sensor is used for example, when you make a call, it is used to turn off the screen while you are calling. But this virtual proximity sensor sometimes may not get to detect very well that you are doing this action or when you are going to listen to some WhatsApp audio. Anyway, I've read several complaints from some users regarding virtual proximity sensors, and that's why I always like to test to know what kind of sensor the devices have, and in this case, Samsung went for a virtual proximity sensor. Apps don't open that fast. You can witness some app restarts when you have a lot of apps open. And obviously in games, it's not going to be as spectacular. If you are a user who is going to demand maximum power, I think this alternative is still not going to be the right one. This Exynos 2200 processor can be useful for a very good number of people who maybe aren't going to resent those little milliseconds or seconds of lag that much. But if you are one of those users who require maximum speed, you will get to despair a little. You may feel that it goes a little slower than you would like, but I insist, everything will depend on your type of user. If you think you are not the most demanding or those who want a maximum gaming experience, super smooth without any loss in frames per second, then I definitely confirm that this device is not focused on that type of user. So, this aspect of the processor may possibly generate some doubt for some people. But remember that it is a processor that Samsung has used in the high end. So it really is a processor that I don't think is a disaster, but I insist that if you absolutely want a lot of power, everything very fast, and a super stable gaming experience, it's not gonna be the choice. But I forgot to tell you something very good, and that is that it will receive the Galaxy AI update. That is the artificial intelligence features that debuted with the Galaxy S24. And that's very good news considering also that it's a budget device. So with the next update, I think it's going to be even more attractive. And if you already bought it, let me know your experience in the comments. You know you can tell us absolutely everything. Tell us what you like the most and what you like the least. Also tell us if you dropped it in the water, if you dropped it on the ground, if it has resisted well, how did you like the camera, or if you feel it gets too hot. Absolutely anything you want to put it, leave it in the comments because there are other users who are interested in buying it and possibly it will help them a lot to know your experience. For now, we have come to the end of this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, you know you can let us know and we'll see you next time.